Friday, April 14th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to learn about one library's mission to introduce children to coding in a fun and exciting way. We'll also find out about the Recreation Division's annual extravaganza this Saturday at the Barnstable Intermediate School. And finally, we'll chat with Natural Resource Officer Amy Croteau. She's going to tell us what we need to know about ospreys on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. It's looking a little more like spring. The Hyannis Artist Shanties were moved to their summer home at Bismore Park yesterday. The popular attraction allows residents and visitors to meet Cape Cod artists and to watch them work along beautiful Hyannis Harbor. The shanties will open Friday, May 5th for the summer. The shanties will be open Friday through Sunday through June 11th, and then they will open 7 days a week, June 12th. To learn more about the art shanties, you can visit artsbarnstable.com. The John F. Kennedy Memorial in Hyannis is getting an upgrade. Project plans call for restoration of the memorial as well as some improvements. Consultant Sherry Ruan from Weston and Sampson presented plans to the public this week.
The fountain itself originally was intended to be more like the eternal flame. That was the design intention. And so you can see here what that actually looks like. And while we are not proposing a flame, we are proposing a fountain that has a little bit more of a flame-like spray. This is able to be manipulated by the operators and managers of the space. It's lit, but it reflects more the original design intent. And this fountain has been changed now to be a granite slab that has a very thin sheet of water on it that skims over the top and flows down the sides with a essentially a drain around the outside. So it will be slightly raised off from the pavement, and we are proposing that no fence be installed.
You can watch the presentation in its entirety by visiting the town's website and clicking on Video on Demand. Graystar LLC is requesting that the Conservation Commission hold a conservation restriction for a proposed senior housing project on Communication Way in Hyannis. The move is a requirement under a Cape Cod Commission development agreement. The Conservation Commission meets Tuesday, April 18th at 6:30 in the Town Hall hearing room. And just a reminder, town offices will be closed Monday, April 17th in observance of Patriots Day, of course. That does include the Barnstable Transfer Station. We have so much more to come. Up next, we're going to learn about that coding camp with Cotuit Library Director Antonia Stevens and owner of Wiley Consulting, Jenny Wiley. So thank you both so much for joining me today. Very excited to learn more about the Cotuit Coding Camp. I know you actually had a first round in February vacation. Tell me a little bit about Coding Camp and why it's so important to get kids used to or introduced to coding.
Well, I would say because it's a very important skill going forward, because technology is such a huge part of our lives, even though we don't necessarily understand that, the underlying code that runs all the technology. Children need to learn that as a kind of literacy, the way they would reading and writing.
Yeah. And most future jobs are projected to have some form of coding involved in them. Like every job is going to have to know some form of code, or at least interact with technology in a way that they can manipulate it. And that's what the Coding Camp is doing, is we are exposing them to the concepts, to the ideas of it in a way that they can understand it, so that as they learn it later on, they have a foundation they can build on. And it's not scary, it's fun.
Computational thinking, really, rather than actually writing code.
Right.
Yeah, because looking at numbers and symbols doesn't really mean a whole lot to any of us, really. But when you put it into simple terms, it can really be understood in a much simpler way. So talk to me about some of the really cool things that are happening at Coding Camp to reach kids at their level.
One of the very first concepts that we deal with in every one of the coding camps is the algorithm. At the basis of everything that you're going to learn, you need to understand what an algorithm is. And we don't dumb that word down. We introduce the word, we introduce what the definition is, which is simply a set of steps that you take to complete a task. And then we say, what's an algorithm that you use in your daily life? And we talk about brushing your teeth. And so we have them go through the steps of what it is to brush their teeth. And if they forget a step, we say, okay, we need to debug this program. Like, you forgot to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush when you were telling me about it. And so we do those kinds of things that are real world. We also do ones where we had this fun activity where I was supposed to plant a seed. And they put all the steps in pictures that I was supposed to do, because we're trying to teach them that it's not words that you're using, but you're using something different to create the code. And they bugged it for me. So they had me plant the seed and pour glue on it and soda in the pot, and then they debugged it so that I planted a seed correctly.
Wow. You know, I don't think I had ever really thought of it in those terms. So putting it in those terms really simplifies it for me as well, even though I'm an adult and, you know, can't really, it's so interesting. And then you have really fun games like this is a robot. What is this called?
This is Cubetto, and it was a very, very successful Kickstarter campaign. And we purchased 2 of them originally for the camp, and we had such success with that. It's so much fun on so many different levels that we opted to purchase fewer, more high-tech robots, and we opted to buy 2 more of these because they're really, really fun, hands-on, and very approachable. You can see by his little face, or her little face, that it's a very appealing and non-threatening way of sort of putting your code into action.
And so this is really cool because kids can take, so this would be a piece of code,
yes,
and you stick it on, and this has a reaction. Yes. So you can make, and you actually have a mat, so you can make the robot get to a certain place on the board, yes, and take turns and move around. So really cool to have them do this. Do you see the light bulb come on when they're using this?
Yeah. What's really interesting is that you see a couple of different kinds of light bulbs come on. First, we see the one where they begin to understand that this is an algorithm and that there's a computer inside of here that is talking to the computer inside of there. Then we see the light bulb come on that they can work collaboratively to create more complex programs than they are if they're doing it one at a time. So we usually begin by each of them taking a turn, and we give them a destination they need to get to on the map. What we find happens is that they naturally start to problem solve together, and they naturally start doing it as a team instead of an individual. And when they hit a problem, because they make a mistake, they have to debug it, they work together to figure out how to get that problem to stop. The nice thing about this one is that you can teach the algorithm, but there's a section here where we can teach what a function is as well. And that takes the learning just like to the next step. And there are just limitless ways that we have been able to use this. And actually the first group that was there renamed it because they loved it so much. They named him Croby.
So cute.
And what's nice about this too is that we do so much of the fundamental teaching in a kind of an analog way without actually getting into computers. Or, you know, a lot of parents get very worried when we say coding camp that we're just going to have their kids on a screen for an hour.
Right.
You know, doing Minecraft, which is not what this is. This is about learning, understanding the fundamental concepts behind it. But there is a certain reward factor in being able to do something with a robot.
Right.
So it's not just about planting a seed, or I have some wonderful footage of Jenny acting out some of the dance routines. There was a little function game with that too, but so that's kind of a reward. And we have a few other robots that we're going to be trying. We've got a Dash and Dot, and we have something called OzoBot, which involves drawing different colored lines. So there's a sort of an arts component, and actually that's something that we're going to be working on with this coding camp is even more of an arts component. We actually have a pianist coming.
Yes, we're going to be teaching functions with music with Stephanie Emberley, who's been to the library several times and is actually giving a concert.
Yeah, she's also giving a concert that
very
night.
soon. So, so she's going to be teaching the kids using music functions. And then our very first day, we're teaching them about algorithms, doing a giant art project together. So each of them will be a line of code, and then we will create this art together as our individual lines of code.
Such a cool opportunity for kids in our area. What age level are you gearing this coding camp to?
Well, because we're still kind of working out how to approach different age groups with the materials that we have, We've based the last camp and this camp on ages 5 to 8. We had 6 through 9 for the last one, and that worked out really well. With the younger child was contributing his thoughts to it, and the 2 older ones were, happy to have him help out. And so it wasn't too much of a age disparity problem. We're hoping eventually, especially with the summer, that we will have sort of like 4 to 6 and 7 to 9, that age, so that we can actually divide it in half. Age-wise, but right now it's sort of 5 through 8 with a little leeway depending on the child.
Wonderful. Is there a cost for participants to take advantage of the coding camp?
Absolutely not.
No, and that's thanks to the grants that you were able to get.
This is funded partially by the Friends of the Cotuit Library. They were actually responsible for the first couple of Cubettos and for some iPads that we have for a little bit later on. And then we applied for an LSTA grant, that's a Library Services and Technology Act, which is federal funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. But it's administered by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. And so we wrote the proposal and we were accepted. It was an innovative grant. So, and the idea is that we're not only providing this for the Barnstable community, but that other librarians can come, or people from other organizations, see what we're doing and either say, hey, we'd love you to come do it for us, or give us some information on how we can do it in our library.
And you already have a librarian from Martha's Vineyard, I think, who's going to come observe.
At least that's the plan. We're hoping that that West Tisbury will send a librarian to come watch.
Wow, so exciting. I think so cool to really give so many kids an opportunity to engage with technology in a new and different way, and like you said, have a foundation for those concepts that they can understand it before getting even further into coding. Thank you guys for joining me today and telling me all about the coding camp.
Should we make Cubetto?
Oh yeah, let's make a move.
Let's put our last line of code in.
Let's hope he doesn't go off.
So now, if you turn this a certain way, can you turn them different ways?
So they only go flat
once?
side.
Okay.
So they only turn certain ways. So the way that I've written this code, he should turn this way, go forward twice, and turn once the other way. Yeah, just in case.
We don't want to fall off the table. All right, let's see him.
So then we're going to press our button.
And now he's following the directions that you gave him. Look at that.
And he stops after each one, which helps the kids understand.
That was the first.
This is this one. And sometimes they will actually even say, oh, now he's doing this. So now he's all done.
So neat. So neat. Well, thank you guys. And of course, we should say, are there still spots available? I know this is approaching quickly. Next week it's happening. So are there still a couple spots available?
Absolutely.
Yes. Wonderful. So call the Cotuit Library to sign up.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Of course, our guest today, Cotuit Library Director Antonia Stevens and Jenny Wiley. She is the owner of Wiley Consulting. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel. Now we're going to find out how to keep your kids active and having fun at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center over April vacation with HYCC General Manager Joe Izzo. Joe, it's so nice to chat with you today. Of course, school vacation week is coming up. Want to talk to you a little bit about activities for parents who may be looking to get their kids out of the house. Maybe they're feeling a little bit restless over break. What kind of activities do you have to offer during school vacation week at the HYCC?
Oh, as usual, Sarah, we have a ton of activities for families and kids here at the HYCC vacation week, and really every week and weekend here in our facility. But specifically, next week we put together a bunch of different stuff for kids and families to come out. We'll do Miss Laurie's Tots class on Tuesday for the little ones. We'll do some stroller skating for moms and dads and their little ones who are in the strollers who want to get out on the ice. We have open gym basketball for kids in K through 12. Pretty much every single day, Monday through Friday, from 3 to 9 in our gym next week. We have pickleball for adults. And then pickleball program on Saturdays for kids.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, on Saturdays from 12 to 2 for kids in grades 4 through 8. We'll set up the pickleball nets and give kids some instruction, and we have all the equipment here. We have the paddles and the balls. So if people want to come out and try it, especially kids, because I think once you play, you really get a feel for it pretty quickly, and it's just so much fun to do. And we want to really introduce that program to as many people as possible. So we carved out a little time in the gymnasium on Saturdays from 12 to 2 to introduce the sport to everybody. So
and tell me, repeat again for me. I know you said the ages, but went so fast I didn't have time to process. What are the ages for that program, and is there a fee, Joe?
There's no fee. It's just a drop-in program. So it would either, if you have a membership, it's free, or you can buy a day pass, which is $5. And the pickleball program is for kids in grades 4 through 8.
Awesome.
And if parents want to stick around and try it out too, they're more than welcome to do that. We're not going to ask parents to leave or anything like that. So, it's a new thing that we're rolling out here in the spring, and we're really gearing it towards those kids in grades 4 through 8, which is around 10 years old to 15. So
awesome! Can't wait. That sounds like a really, really cool program.
Yeah, and that's not something just specifically for school vacation week. We're going to try that out on Saturdays in the springtime and see if we can gain some traction. And if we have a good response, we'll keep it going and maybe carve out some other time during the year.
Awesome! Sounds fun. I myself would like to learn pickleball. I know my little one loves playing tennis, so I think he might really like this sport. So thanks for telling us about that. That sounds lots of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
One other thing I want to talk about. I'm super excited that we're talking about this. It's time to get your beach sticker, right? The spring weather is here. We're very excited, but you do need to get your beach sticker before the summer season.
Yeah, we start the walk-in parking permit sticker sales on Monday, May 1st. So Monday, May 1st, here at the HYCC, right in the lobby, we have a great team of volunteers and staff who are here to assist you with anything that you need to get yourself hooked up to spend the summer at the beach here in Barnstable.
It's so fun. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Can't
me
wait.
too. Me too. It's a sure sign of spring when the beach stickers go on sale.
That's right. I want to talk to you about another event that you guys are hosting coming up, a job fair. I know just this past week you had a job fair with the Barnstable Youth Commission. Now this is a job fair for adults.
Yeah.
And what can you tell me about this?
Yeah, I can tell you it will be on also on Monday, May 1st, and it'll be in the gymnasium. And Cape Cod Media Group, also known as the Cape Cod Times newspaper, will has sort of put together this great job fair with, I think they have about 60 different employers who are going to come up and set up tables in our gymnasium and host a job fair for adults and for folks in the community who may be looking for jobs. And that's going to run here in our building on the 1st, and it is going to run from I believe it's going to start at 11 a.m. and run through the day.
Wonderful.
11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Now, this, I'm guessing, is this free to attend as well?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a free event, so you can come out and talk to some potential employers and get a sense of kind of what the Cape has to offer as far as employment here. Not only just in Barnstable, but throughout Cape Cod.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Joe, filling us in on everything that's happening at the HYCC. Very excited. Can't wait to learn more about that pickleball program.
There's information on all of our April School Vacation Week fun on our website, so you can check that out for specific times and dates for things. And I also want to give just a quick plug while I have you here on the Mad Science Fire and Ice Show. Which is Thursday, April 20th at 10:30 in the Shepley Room.
All right.
It's going to be a new event for us. It's going to be really cool. They'll come in. There's a $5 charge at the door, and kids can come in, and if they want to see some cool science stuff, it's right here in the building. And something else to do during vacation week.
Did you say Thursday, April 20th?
Correct. Yeah, Thursday the 20th, 10:30 a.m. in the Shepley Room.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I hope
sure.
you have a great, fun vacation week at the HYCC.
Thank you. You
All
too.
right.
Have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
My guest today, General Manager of the Hyannis Youth and Community Center, Joe Izzo. And joining me now live over the phone, Natural Resource Officer Amy Croteau. Amy, it is springtime, and what does that mean for the osprey in our area?
Well, first of all, I consider our osprey to be sort of the harbingers of spring. So when they show up, everyone can take a massive sigh of relief because, in fact, spring has arrived.
Hooray!
I think there's probably no coincidence that the timing of the arrival of the osprey and also of our anadromous fish species, the herring, is time together, and it makes sense because the osprey are anglers by nature. 99 to 100% of their diet in Massachusetts consists of fish, and they're probably some of the best fishermen I've ever met. It can be great to watch them. They're currently courting one another, building their nest, trying to figure out who's going to be mating with who. And while there are a lot of people who enjoy watching them, there's certainly a recovery story. You know, I was born in 1980, and DDT, a pesticide that used to be used broadly across the U.S., was banned in 1972. It was causing the eggshells of this animal to be very thin. They weren't absorbing calcium as they should, and so their numbers were plummeting. Wow. And I've gotten to watch over the past 36 years of my life this species really rebound. To the point where they're basically around every single water body that we have, and especially within our town. People typically fall into two camps, people that enjoy watching them, love watching them in the nest, and love watching the young sort of grow up. And then there are people who enjoy their presence and watching them, but don't necessarily want them nesting on top of their houses, boats, and docks. And that can cause some sort of conflicts and issues with the general public if they don't understand exactly the federal protections that are provided to this bird.
Now, what happens? So we have a great picture that you sent us of a bird actually making a nest on someone's boat. What happens in that event if they come out to their boat and there is a giant osprey nest on it? What can they do? Can they remove that, or do they have to let it remain?
It can be very touchy. So right now, with temperatures as cold as they are throughout the day and throughout the night, we are warming, but they're not temperatures that would allow the osprey, if they had eggs in a nest, to leave them for extended periods of time. So unless you see an osprey that's actively sitting in a nest for extended periods of time right now, chances are there aren't any eggs in that nest. And that's the time if somebody has a nest that's being built on their chimney, on their dock, on their boat, that it's best for them to remove it, because once there's even one egg inside of that nest, their federal protection kicks in, and you're stuck with that nest for the duration of the 30 to 35 days that it takes to incubate the egg, and for the duration of 50 to 55 days that it takes for the birds to learn how to fly. So we receive a lot of phone calls this time of year from people who are concerned. It's extremely popular for people to start landscaping, to have their houses painted, to have their houses worked on in the spring. And there's a conflict with these birds who are trying to build nests in areas that people may not want them, even if they're nests that have been used year after year after year. So long as there are no eggs within that nest, whoever owns that property is allowed to remove that nest at that time.
Okay, good to know. But then once, of course, you find an egg, those protections do kick in. Anything else we need to know about osprey in our region?
I mean, they're going to be around our water bodies. They fish for a living, and although people really do enjoy taking photographs of them, if you hear them start to make the telltale noise, that indicates that they're annoyed by your presence and you're in fact stressing them out. So we suggest any photographers out there that would like to take pictures of the birds to stay at least 40 to 50 feet away from the nest and not be directly underneath it or close enough to it that you're bothering the birds while you're taking photographs of them.
Wonderful. Great advice, Amy. Thank you for joining us today. Sort of interesting to know now when we can deal with a nest and when we can't. Great information for us. Thank you so much, Amy, and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
All right. Take care, Sarah.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My guest today, Amy Croteau. She's a natural resource officer here in the town of Barnstable. Now let's go ahead and find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. The Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee is hosting Spring Walking Weekend this weekend. There will be guided walks at many trails here in the town of Barnstable beginning today. That walking weekend will go through Monday, April 17th. You can get a full list of walks, times, and locations by visiting the town's website and looking under the notifications section on the upper right of the homepage. The Recreation Division is hosting its annual Extravaganza this Saturday, April 15th. Admission to the Fun Family event is free. There are some small fees for some games and activities. Kids can do crafts, hunt for Easter eggs, and of course meet the Easter Bunny and the sidekick Chick. The Eggstravaganza is this Saturday at the Barnstable Intermediate School from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Well, there are no board, committee, or commission meetings today. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be back Tuesday because just a reminder again, town offices will be closed on Monday, so we'll be back Tuesday with another great show for you. On Tuesday, we'll chat with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. We'll hear from DPW Director Dan Santos, and we'll learn more about how pies are helping raise awareness for the Parkinson Support Network of Cape Cod. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.